Hello everyone, and thank you once again for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first on fire danger, we've got a little bit less in the way of extreme here. Still there though, up over the Yukon Flats, along the Yukon River up to about Porcupine where the intersect, and then also along the central to eastern Tanana Valley, mostly along the north slopes of the Alaska Range. That kind of enhances and diminishes depending on how strong the winds are blowing through the Alaska Range passes. And it looks like next couple of days through the weekend could be periods with some gap winds blowing through there, which will elevate the fire danger for sure with the continued dry conditions. And a little bit more than what I have depicted here in the Copper River Basin area, with some high fire danger there just east of the Seward Peninsula area and also over the southern southeast coast. And satellite imagery showing weakening trough moving into south central Alaska today. That's already up and over the Alaska Range, and that brought some precipitation into mostly upslope areas of southern Alaska today. Cordova picked up about 1/3 of an inch of rain, as well as western Cook Inlet as you get the upslope areas toward the Alaska Range. About 1/3 of an inch falling along there as well, with areas over toward Yakutat really not picking up much at all. As you can see, they're still kind of off to the east there of the weakening band here of moisture back toward Cordova, and then areas down across the southeast coast. Very nice afternoon, lots of sunshine, temperatures rising in the lower to mid 80s over the southern panhandle, with 70-degree temperatures showing up even out along the outer coastline in areas. Otherwise, thunderstorms breaking out over the eastern interior in toward the central during the latter part of the afternoon, but Eagle was right under one of them, or in the vicinity. They picked up nearly half an inch of rain with that thunderstorm today. Got a frontal system coming down across the Brooks Range with some light amounts of precipitation there. A lot of moisture back to the northwest, west-northwest, already spreading clouds into the western Arctic coast areas on down in toward Kotzebue Sound and Chukchi. That's associated with the warm front with another system back to the northwest. A break here over the southwest interior areas, except along the coast. We've got this trough scooting north and then a little to the northwest, but weakening. It still brought 2/3 of an inch of rain during the 12-hour period ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon at Cape Newenham there. Wind's not all that bad, a little breezy, but nothing serious at all. And break with some fog over the Pribilof Islands, fog, Cold Bay, and some rain with this system moving into the eastern Aleutians during the day today, but amounts were light. Some more light rain pushing in toward Adak and Atka, but the bulk of that moisture is near and south of the Aleutian chain there. And then the next system nearly spread rain into the Shemya to Island area. If it isn't already, it will be shortly. Otherwise, last look, Shemya's IFR with fog and clouds. Here's the front up over the eastern Arctic coast. Rain's already ended at Kaktovik and Barter Island, and some moisture, areas of light rain along that frontal boundary into the eastern north slope to the Brooks Range area. Thunderstorms developing here over the eastern and central interior areas, with a little bit of drizzle occurring this afternoon. Low clouds hanging in over the Elfin Cove area, but definitely warm temperatures. 85 degrees Shelter Cove, 81 at Ketchikan this afternoon. Today was 70s all the way up towards Skagway. Port Alexander, 71 degrees. And cooler temperatures over the eastern interior today with the cloud cover and moisture up there, just lower to mid 70s at mid-afternoon. And for tonight, look for, again, continuation of the low clouds, fog, and drizzle, probably translate into IFR flying conditions there along the north coast of the Panhandle, staying mild and fair and cloud-free down to the south. This system coming northward in the southerly flow coming around the high-pressure area southwest of the Queen Charlottes. That's going to spread more rain back into the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, back to Kodiak during the nighttime hours tonight. Of course, starting at Kodiak sooner, but eventually spreading up after midnight in toward Cordova once again, and maybe Seward, and of course Prince William Sound. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, scattered showers, diminishing thunderstorms, south central Alaska and the Tanana Valley. weak cold front right through here, weak frontal boundary there. Just really not a lot of precipitation with it, just some scattered showers here. And then more moisture of the warm front variety, low clouds, fog, drizzle, light rain, spreading eastward to possibly a Licktock and then down to maybe Point Lay, back to the northwest, main low center way back to the west, still west of Wrangel Island. And this weak low center, again, really won't develop into too much of a system. This front will keep it breezy and wet along the Alaska Peninsula. They figured about 2/3 or 2/10 of an inch, maybe a 1/4 inch falling in some areas there today. That'll continue into tonight. Next system driving eastward there, rain and fog pushing in towards into AKwx, definitely and toward Attica later on. High pressure keeps it mostly dry with some fog over the Bering Strait and northern Bering Sea. And then for tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon, looks pretty nice up there for the Seward Peninsula, mostly sunny, even Norton Sound down into the northern Yukon Delta, and a narrow band of mostly clear conditions extending eastward there across and south of the White Mountains into the mid and upper Tanana Valley, 40 Mile Country. Thunderstorms developing just to the north of there, and an area of light rain, pretty solid area there of light rain along that boundary, frontal boundary that's just kind of hanging in place there on the north side of the Brooks Range, back to the Arctic coast. And this system drives a trough northward there, not quite a frontal boundary, but be some gusty winds with that, breezy conditions, kind of an upper level trough axis rotating northward there. Put the squeeze a little bit in the atmosphere. So you could see some small craft advisories along the southwest coast and to Nunavik Island possibly tomorrow. Otherwise, this low dominating the Bering Sea here, probably, or at least through tomorrow and tomorrow night with rain and showers mostly or more concentrated here on the eastern quadrant of that system, but still more showery, but a lot of IFR kind of conditions back to the west. And that system weakens considerably tomorrow with rain still reaching the southern Kenai Peninsula. It looks wet, occasionally wet, maybe improving in the afternoon for Kodiak. And rain to about Cordova, be light rain, this really washing out into a trough, but the southerly flow will keep funneling the moisture right up to the coastline. And again, sunny, back into lower to mid 80s for the southern southeast coast. No rain in sight there for quite some time. So Sunday looks pretty good, almost identical, although the low clouds and fog may be a little more persistent here on the central coast and again along the north coast, lasting a little longer into the afternoon. Otherwise, not much change there. Mostly cloudy, scattered showers for areas south of the Alaska Range, especially south of the Sitna Valley to the North Gulf Coast. Weak trough brings some more rain chances in toward Kodiak Island. Looks pretty good up here over the north central interior, partly mostly sunny now over a bigger area from the Besna, Northway, Tok up to Eagle, back to the northwest to the western Arctic coast. Could be mostly sunny during the day Sunday. That kind of improvement there ahead of the next front that's farther back to the west. Look for areas of fog, possible low clouds on the east side. This system here, another frontal boundary, pushes into the Alaska Peninsula. Look for small craft advisory winds with that, maybe gusts 30-35 miles an hour, Cape Noonan back to Makoriak and Tuksuk Bay. Those areas will see probably see the strongest winds, along with a chance of rain that doesn't make it too far inland, and lots of moisture showers over the Aleutians, but that begins to improve west of AKwx. And for lows tonight, 55 to 60 eastern interior, mid-50s back to the west, 57 the forecast low for Kotzebue, 37 up at Barrow, 34 at Kaktovik, still kind of cool, and lower to mid-50s southern Alaska, mid-40s for the Aleutians, upper 40s Aleutians, mid-40s for the Pribilofs to St. Lawrence Island, 50s to maybe lower 60s for the southern Panhandle, excuse me, and then the highs for Saturday afternoon, again 75 to 80 down south, but 70s all the way up to Skagway, and 65 to 70 on the outer coastline, depending on how soon those clouds burn off, and day much like today over the central and eastern interior, mid to upper 70s, 70s all the way back to the Seward Peninsula, but Kaktovik only 39 degrees, 60s Bristol Bay, 50s out west, and 65 to 70 for south central Alaska. Lows mid-50s again, not much change, mid-50s or upper Yukon Valley, back to the Seward Peninsula, 50s to near 60 in the Panhandle, and again back in the 70s on Sunday, near 80 over the eastern interior.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic here showing IFR all along the Arctic coast, marginal a short distance into the North Slope, and then VFR tomorrow morning across the Brooks Range, right on down to the Alaska Range. You pick up some marginal VFR, mostly along the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. IFR, Prince William Sound, southward, westward across the Barren Islands to Kamishak Bay, east side of Kodiak, the Alaska Peninsula, all the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Otherwise, good VFR in the interior, Copper River Basin, right on down the southeast coast. And then in the afternoon, that marginal VFR along the coast burns back a little bit to mostly offshore, and that leaves pretty nice conditions over the inland areas. VFR continues much of interior Alaska being seen expanding southward here across the Brooks Range, but VFR Norton Sound on up across the Seward Peninsula, with the IFR holding in place and actually coming up right up to the southwest coast. And then for Sunday morning, that backs off a ways there, western Nunivak Island, just leaving you in marginal VFR. IFR, southwest mountains, VFR, much of the interior. The same pattern here, marginal VFR, upslope areas of the Alaska Range, IFR, Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula. All this remaining off the southeast coast, except the outer coastline may pick up some marginal VFR, and not much change out in the west at all over the Bering Sea. And that doesn't really change much for the afternoon, except pulls back IFR back into the southwest coast and a little bit eastward here, but you can see some VFR over Bristol Bay. Interior looking really good again, and lingering marginal VFR east side of the western Alaska Range, and the IFR pulling mostly off the Arctic coast, maybe hanging in toward Kaktovik and Barter Island. No change for the Panhandle. Passes Anatuvik tomorrow. Call it marginal VFR at times, but go with VFR for Adigan. Be some clouds and showers around, but may not reach the VFR threshold. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR gradually possibly becoming marginal into the latter part of the afternoon. And rainy though, stay VFR. Windy, marginal VFR to start, becoming VFR later in the morning. Isabel, same pattern. Lower conditions early on, then becoming VFR. Probably late morning, except Tanita, VFR the entire day. And Portage looking marginal with deteriorating conditions, mostly on the eastern entrance, which could go VFR, I'm sorry, which could go IFR into the latter part of the afternoon. Chilkoot and White, good VFR. Freezing levels, kind of a trough swinging northward here, so 8,000 foot cool pool coming with it there, signifying that weakening trough sliding northward here right over the, just about into the Denali area and Susitna Valley. Another larger 8,000 foot freezing level pocket back along the southwest coast. In contrast, upper high pressure, 14,000 foot freezing levels, keeping those temperatures, in some cases, approaching 80 degrees over the southern Panhandle. And then warm air here along the Aleutians. And for the icing possibilities, several surges of moisture here. One could produce some light to very isolated moderate rime or mixed icing, Kodiak Island into south central Alaska, another batch along the southern Kuskokwim Mountains in toward Togiak Bay and Dillingham, and yet another surge out here over the southeast Bering Sea right up to the southwest coast, just exiting the Perbilofs, and also up here with that activity coming in from the west-northwest, catching the Arctic coast and into the North Slope. Could see some rime icing up there of the light variety, mostly light, above about 7,000 feet. And the jet stream showing southerly flow, actually kind of a meandering pattern to the flow here. 80 knots coming around this low splits, 70 knots wrapping back around, catching the southwest coast. And then this west-northwesterly jet coming across mostly the eastern Beaufort Sea coast areas. And then a week, about 60 knots, they'll still carry moisture northward, but the whole pattern is weakening and beginning to diverge a little, so it won't be carrying as much moisture northward as it has been, but still southerly flow, high pressure holding over the southern Panhandle. 9,000 feet, southeast 25 knots here right along the southwest coast and into the interior, 25 increasing over Cook Inlet, light up over the northern interior, then west-northwest 25 to 30 over the eastern Arctic coast, light under high pressure for the Panhandle. Same thing at 3,000 feet here, high pressure and over the interior. So light variable winds 10 to 15 and 30 knots with that next storm in the Aleutians. Turbulence, occasional moderate chop here over the southwest interior, right on down the Alaska Peninsula.
It's kind of hard to explain how important weather is to our job. I mean, it really affects everything we do.
In 2018, NOAA launches the GOES-S satellite, which takes its place in orbit as GOES-17. Working together with GOES-16, the two new geostationary weather satellites will provide constant watch over the United States and the Western Hemisphere, from the west coast of Africa all the way to New Zealand, helping monitor severe storms, wildfires, and daily weather patterns. Since its launch, NOAA's GOES-16 satellite has already demonstrated its critical capability for keeping our nation weather ready. Throughout the active 2017 hurricane season, GOES-16 delivered imagery with detail and clarity never achieved before, with 4 times greater resolution than previous NOAA satellites, and delivered this imagery faster than ever before, helping forecasters predict the path of a storm and where and when it will intensify. These accurate and timely forecasts allowed for emergency managers to prepare for evacuations, map flood areas, and save lives.
So the weather matters. The weather matters before the weather happens, and the weather matters after the event happens, because what we're able to do to prepare, allocate resources, provide information to the public through the media beforehand, and what we're able to do afterwards, how and when the waters are going to recede, so we know we can get vehicles with life-saving food and shelter equipment down a particular highway. All of that depends on the forecast.
In the GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to provide critical data for the westernmost United States, Alaska, and Hawaii.
We're talking about getting data updates in just seconds, so we can quickly spot wildfires and closely monitor the wind direction and their intensity. The crispness of the data coming in at a faster rate will also help with fog forecasts. We can see the moment the stratus starts to develop or when it starts to move out.
Like GOES-16, GOES-17 carries a suite of advanced instruments, including tools for sophisticated earth sensing, lightning detecting, solar imaging, and space weather monitoring. As an equal partner in the sky, GOES-17 will expand coverage of the advanced baseline imager technology across the Pacific Ocean, allowing meteorologists and local officials to see severe weather systems developing in real time.
So instead of seeing something, say, this large, that as you zoom in actually gets kind of blurry, you're actually going to see something that is much more detailed.
In its GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to monitor conditions in the western U.S. like wildfires, coastal fog, and atmospheric rivers when storms from the Pacific dump heavy rain and snow over the western U.S. GOES-17 will have a major impact on fighting wildfires in California. Up-to-the-minute information and crisp detail allows forecasters to spot fires faster than ever before, even before the first 911 calls come in, and to better track and predict the path of large, dynamic, and dangerous fires.
It's amazing to see what we can get and at the level of detail and the speed that we can get the information down into the ground that makes our decision-making way more accurate.
With a view of the Pacific Ocean, GOES-17 will also provide a critical eye over shipping lanes vital to the U.S. economy, protecting cargo and passenger vessels from dangerous ocean storms. GOES-17 will also provide a high-definition view over Alaska, resulting in better weather forecasts and improved monitoring of sea ice, wildfires, and volcanic ash. The advanced baseline imager on GOES-17 can distinguish between clouds, sea ice, and snow cover, a critical need during Alaska's dark, cloudy winter months. GOES-17's geostationary lightning mapper monitors lightning flashes, including the in-cloud lightning most prevalent in severe storms, helping forecasters determine when a storm is forming, intensifying, and becoming more dangerous. Thanks to GOES-17, emergency managers will be equipped with more accurate weather predictions and faster warnings, providing a real impact, saving lives, and protecting infrastructure. Watching over Earth from 22,300 miles above, GOES-S will provide vital data to our weather-ready nation.
Hi, I'm JPSS. I'm a high-tech weather satellite that orbits our planet. I do something called a polar orbit. I circle the Earth from North Pole to South Pole, over and over, while the Earth spins. While I do that, I get lots of information about what's going on around the globe. I watch storms, clouds, and rain. I take the temperature of the ocean, measure air quality, ozone health, and take pictures of the land and sea. This information is used for all kinds of things. It helps us take care of our coasts and oceans and all the amazing things that live there. It helps us monitor harmful weather events like floods and droughts and measure the health of the environment. Most importantly, it helps us predict weather 3 to 7 days in the future. That means I can be a big help ahead of storms, where future warnings are important. I send information to the National Weather Service. They use the information to create forecasts. The forecasts are shared with people all over the country to help prepare for weather emergencies. So you look to the sky and wave. I'll be flying by.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the segment today. Otherwise, sea ice analysis for today showing a little bit different now from yesterday, with this area up here breaking up and thinning out, turning blue. The blue shaded area that goes along with this expanding area out here actually looks quite a difference from yesterday as far as the thinning out north of the main ice edge. Otherwise, not much change through this area, and same sort of trend expected to continue for the next 5 or 6 days. On to coastal water forecasts here. Small craft advisories tomorrow on the south coast, 25 knots out of the northwest, seas 6 to 8 feet. 15 to 20 central and southern inside waters out of the northwest with 3 to 4 foot seas. Lynn Canal south 20, seas 4 feet. North coast, west 15, turn northwest, pick up to about 20 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas. And looking at Sunday's forecast, Lynn Canal a little lighter, south 15, and pretty light for Stevens Passage, northwest 20 for Clarence Strait. And small craft advisories now for the greater portion of the coast here, all the way up to about Elfin Cove there, 25 knots with 5 to 8 foot seas, west 15 in the extreme north coast. Prince William Sound, light easterlies tomorrow with 2 foot seas, southeast 15 here in the Middleton Island marine zone. East 25 for the western North Gulf Coast, so small craft advisories there across the Barrens at 30 knots right into Kamishak Bay. East 30, seas as high as 11 feet. Southern Cook Inlet, northeast 25 with 8 foot seas and 15 knots north of the Forelands. For Sunday, lighter and a lot more variable, call it variable 10 for Cook Inlet with 2 foot seas. Southeast 20, Kamishak Bay. Same thing for the Barren Islands. Southwest breeze, barely a breeze now for the North Gulf Coast at 10 knots, and no change for Prince William Sound. Wind staying light and seas only at about 3 feet or less. Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, northeast 30 knots with 12 foot seas. Definitely worse conditions there than on the east side of the island. It will be southeast at 20, southeast winds at 20 knots all the way down to Castle Cape. And then small craft advisories for the Alaska Peninsula, southeast 25. And Bristol Bay, also small crafts with east at 25. And even stronger winds in store for Sunday with 30 knot winds from Bristol Bay all the way down to Cape Sarachev, turning south to southeast. And southerlies at 25 knots from Cape Sarachev all the way up to Sitkinak, and actually along the eastern marine zones there in Kodiak Island, southeast 25, lighter winds for Shelikof Strait. And for the western Aleutians, northwest and northeast at about 20, and kind of a variable condition here for the central Aleutians as well, but on the light side, 15 to 20 knots, southeast to northeast, and then more uniform wind direction here as well as speed, 15 to 20 to 20 to 25 knots for the Fox Islands out of the southeast, with those seas running 4 to 7 feet. And then for Sunday, southerlies 30 knots here, eastern Aleutians, Fox Islands from the south-southwest with seas as high as 13 feet. Small craft advisories for the central Aleutians, west-southwest 25, 9 to 11 foot seas, falling back to 20 knots there from Kiska to Attu Island out of the northwest, but seas are still at 8 feet. Pretty windy day for the southwest coast tomorrow. East, a pretty stiff easterly breeze at 30 knots with 7 to 9 foot seas. Not so windy for the Pribilofs, east 15, northeast 25, St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island, east of 15. And then for Sunday, Norton Sound, southeast 20, east 20, St. Lawrence Island. Small craft advisories here continue along the southwest coast for 30-knot winds with that next system and front coming in with 9 to 10 foot seas. Small craft advisories now for the Pribilofs and holding for St. Matthew Island. Central eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east at 15 for the day Saturday, swinging around to the southwest from about Point Lay all the way down to the Bering Strait there, with areas south of Cape Thompson only at about 15 knots. And then for Sunday, Wales to Cape Thompson, east 15, turning southeast, the west side, central coast, south at 15. Not too bad wind-wise, 15 knots on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, increasing to 20 knots, heading out toward Demarcation Point. For tonight, diminishing thunderstorms, still a risk over the central interior. Chance of rain spreads back up to the North Gulf Coast. Rain with this system spreads continues on the Alaska Peninsula and keeps occasionally wet in the southwest coast there. Next system pushing into the Aleutians, moves eastward. Pretty good trough here, brings wind and rain in the Alaska Peninsula and the southwest coast. This system weakens, but still brings rain into the North Gulf Coast. And another sunny, dry day for the Panhandle, and up over the interior, more sunshine. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.